Good evening. Sharif Talib here, the Math Fixer, or just Math Fixer on YouTube. So, today was the first day that I got to meet my new scholars that I'm going to be teaching. And it is interesting. It is interesting. Um, I think what's interesting to me is to know that a scholar did not do that well in school during the school year, especially this past school year, because everybody was doing distance learning, which was harder for scholars. I understand. Actually, some scholars said their grades improved because they were able to focus more because they were at home. A lot of scholars, I think nationwide, scores went down because of the pandemic and the shutdown. But what was interesting to me is how many students who don't do well during the school year actually spend the whole summer not going over their math. That doesn't seem very logical to me. If you didn't do well during the school year, I think that the only sensible thing to do is to practice more because the foundation skills of math are going to be the same regardless of the grade. The things that I spoke on before, integer rules, order of operations, inverse operations, combining like terms, and distributive property, these things stay the same whether you're doing middle school math, high school math, college math, getting your master's in math. The basics, the foundation, that does not change. That doesn't change. And so I had a lot of scholars today. Instead of doing icebreakers and stuff like that, I actually put a problem on the board that they won't get to for about 3 weeks. But the problem contained all of those elements that we just talked about, which in 7th grade, I teach 8th grade math, 8th grade pre-algebra, and 8th grade algebra. I know that they study those things because the middle school teachers get together and we talk about what's being taught in each grade level. So I know they went over those things, but because students and a lot of people have this concept that over the summer they need a break, I don't agree with that. Maybe not as much, but again, if your scholar did not do well in math this year, you allow them to take the whole summer off. How do you think they're going to do the next year? It's not going to work. I do private tutoring, and so all of my clients, yes, all of my clients except for one had their scholars doing work over the summer. And I'm going to tell you, all of the people that I tutored are either going to make an A or they're going to drastically improve, because what I did was I looked at the curriculum that they would have to, or the course subject matter that they're going to have to do for each grade level that I was tutoring, and those are the things that I had them go over, the stuff that they're going to walk into. One of my scholars just got his book a couple of days ago, and he actually wrote me an email and said, "Thank you, Mr. Talib, because I looked in the book and I know a lot of this stuff." And I told him thank you, but that's what I did on purpose. So I guess the gist of all of this is to say that parents, it's not always a good thing to let your child, or your scholar, I like to say scholar, to let your scholar just take the whole summer off. It's going to be more stressful for them the next year. Again, if they didn't do well during the school year, you let them take the whole summer off, not going over their math. Now they're going to go to another grade, and if they passed, which I hope they did, what they do in this grade is going to be based off of what they did last year. It is. It's just that simple. I really don't think that parents should let their scholars take a break from their core subjects, especially math and English. Maybe if your child made an A in math and English, maybe. But if they didn't make an A or a strong B, then they need more practice. And math is nothing but repetition. Math is nothing but repetition, like tying your shoe, like potty training your child. It's constant repetition, constant repetition. That, and eventually it will click. They need that. They need the repetition, and it's not always necessary for them to for you to explain the rules. If you give your child a phone number to remember, before you give them the number, are you going to tell them how the phone operates? Are you going to teach them how the sound travels from this phone to that phone? No, you just give them the number and say it's going to work. Same thing with math rules. They need to know the rules. Regardless, if I teach them, if you can't remember the rule, how are you going to remember how the rule works and then the rule, if it's hard for you to remember the rule? Just remember the rule and constantly do it. Just remember the rule and constantly do it. Math is repetition. If I could get any parent or parents to understand one thing, is it is constant repetition. Get the right rule, repetition. You mess up, go revisit the rule, repetition. Whenever you mess up, have your child go back to the rule. Have your child go back to the rule. So I know I kind of went a couple of places, but okay.